Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports Center. As you can see by the title, man, we're going to be taking a look at Cam Ward. So I went through and did a little film breakdown from the Florida game from this past season, and we're going to go ahead and jump straight into this video. I ain't going to bore y'all with no intro. So this play right here was a pretty interesting play. I think that this play was very well executed executed from Miami Hurricanes standpoint as a whole in terms of Cam Ward, in terms of the tight end, and even in terms of the offensive line, buying him enough time to even make it possible for him to get that pass off and allow that play to develop. So it looks like, obviously, if you look at it, it looks like Florida was in a cover one. Obviously, if you got a single high safety, that more times than not, that means that you're in a cover one or a cover three. Now, granted, you can also, some teams might show cover one or cover three with a single high, and then at the ball snap, they rotate into a two high shell. And, when it's in the two high shell, they could be possibly cover two, they could be possibly cover four. But on this play right here, particularly, obviously, this cover one, which is man-to-man coverage, and the tight end does a very good job at when he doesn't release right away. If you pay attention to the tight end, he goes for a block. Right, he goes as if he was setting up a block on one guy and then on two guys, and then he just climbs into the next level and runs across the field wide open, and Cam Ward just drops it off to him. And I do think to a certain degree on that play right there, the linebacker that was supposed to probably took him, he goes on the opposite side trying to pursue the running back out the backfield, which leaves that linebacker already at a disadvantage in terms of leverage. And Cam Ward does a good job at noticing that and just putting the ball right there so he can catch and run for an easy touchdown. Now, a very big part to playing quarterback and thriving at being a quarterback is decision making, right? So you look at this play right here. This play right here was just the embodiment of horrible decision making. So when you look at it from a situational standpoint, you have Miami, who's on 2nd and 9. Right. So let's just say, for instance, you take a sack here. Let's just say, for instance, you throw the ball away here. Let's say, for instance, you just take off running just to try to gain some yards and go out of bounds. You still have one play left after that. And let's just say, hypothetically speaking, if on 3rd down it was a sack or y'all just didn't get the 1st down, you can recover field position by punting. Right. But on this play right here, when he rolls out the pocket, and I think one of the things about rolling out the pocket, I think that you kind of have to have an understanding of what it is that you're trying to do whenever you roll out the pocket now, because now you're limiting yourself to one side of the field. So once you roll out on this play right here to the left, anything back across the right or even the center field is not really an option now, because now you're having to go against the grain and throw back across your body, similar to this play right here. And we all know that throwing back against your body is a cardinal sin, especially going to the next level in NFL. You've seen what happened with Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean? Even it happens to some of the better quarterbacks just trying to throw back across your body in the Super Bowl. When Cooper DeJean picked that ball off for a pick six, it was similar to a play like this, rolling out the pocket, I guess trying to buy yourself some time, and then the pocket starts to, or you start to feel the pressure from the D lineman. Now you have to get rid of the ball, and you make a horrible decision on that play. Like I said, you have to think about the down and distance, the situation. If I don't get this, we still have one more down after that. Now, if I throw this pass and it get picked, now not only do we lose possession, now we put the opposing team in prime real estate. I mean, a couple more yards, they're in the red area. So based off of this drive right here, I would assume that Florida was able to come up with some points, whether it was a field goal, whether it was a touchdown. But this is just one of those plays that you just can't make this decision. One thing I would say I'm noticing about Cam, especially in this game, because Florida was putting a lot of pressure up front on Cam. A lot of the plays I'm looking at, they were kind of sending blitzes his way, trying to make it uncomfortable for him. But one thing that I am seeing, that he does have that cool, calm demeanor in the pocket. So in this play right here, it looks like Florida is in a cover 3, because it's like they were showing too high and the safety ended up dropping down and coming down. So obviously when you in cover 3, your corners have the deep thirds, and that single high safety obviously has to try to stay over the top of everything. But whenever you're running the cover 3, because it's a single high safety, its reliance on one deep safety creates vulnerability in the middle of the field. Offenses can exploit this by running route combinations that target the seams between the safety and other defenders, which can lead to holes in coverage. And that's exactly what you're seeing right here. It left a big hole in the middle of the field, and Cam was able to stay composed and cool in the pocket. And granted, they only rushed 4, and the offensive line held it up long enough for him to be able to throw the ball, but he was able to identify the hole and get it to the receiver. Here we go on another play similar to the one we just covered. So once again, it looks like Florida was kind of showing a too high safety look, but then kind of when the ball was snapped, the safety kind of dropped down and it went back to another single high, which identified that, which tells you what, if it's a single high safety 9 times out of 10, it's cover 1 or it's cover 3, which you do have different variations in that depending on the route concepts. But on this play right here, like it's a cover 3 because the corners bail and get to their deep thirds. But what happened on the previous play? What did we say? How do you attack a cover 3? Right? Because the deep safety has to stay over the top of everything. So by him having to stay over the top of everything, if you send a lot of routes vertically down the field, it kind of puts him in a compromising position of where to go to and where to help. And it creates big gaps within the middle of the field. And Cam Ward just takes advantage of that. And I like it because it was situational, right? It like they was in somewhat of a 2-minute drill. I'm not quite sure exactly where the time was at when they first got the ball, but it's at 1 minute here and he's advancing the ball, getting positive yardage, trying to lead to putting up some points before they head to halftime. This was another good play right here from Cam. So in this touchdown, so this is finishing off the 2-minute drive from the previous clip we just was looking at. So he was able to finish it off with a touchdown going into halftime. So this play right here is kind of interesting. If you look, once again, like Florida is in a single high safety, but this time they just rotated it. Whereas the last few plays, the previous plays we watched, you had the strong safety at the single high and the free safety was playing down low kind of around the box area. But on this play right here, they swapped it out. They put the free safety as the single high and they dropped the strong safety down to kind of play with it in that area where the free safety was previously playing there. So on this play right here, man, it just was I don't understand what was going on from Florida's standpoint, because on the outside, you got 2 people guard the same person. You got the corner being matched up man to man, and you got the safety who's trying to match up with the outside receiver, which gives the slot receiver a straight vert to the end zone. Cam did a pretty good job, I would say, too, at kind of trying to keeping the safety at bay, looking as if he was going to try to throw that ball, which it was there. It could have been there potentially, depending on how good he was able to place the ball on the receiver. But he did a good job at kind of staring, using his eyes to maneuver the safety, and then just putting it in that little soft spot back there for an easy touchdown. So on this play right here, to the naked eye, it might not look like much, but let me break it down to you. So you got Miami, who's in scoring range. They got a pretty comfortable lead. It's 1st and 10. So Cam goes through, and like I said early on too, a big part of being successful as a quarterback, sometimes the difference between good and great quarterbacks a lot of times is decision making. So you take this play right here, for example. Florida's in scoring, Miami, is in scoring range. It's 1st and 10. They got a pretty comfortable lead. So you look at Cam. Cam goes through his reads. He gets his eyes downfield, trying to see if it's anything that was there. And it probably was opportunities that he probably could have hit on, but at the same time, why force it, right? You look downfield, it's not nothing there. You don't like the matchups that you're looking at. Let's just do a simple check down to your running back right there and look at what that does. So sometimes, like I said, once again, and that's a good play from the running back to sell as if he was going to stay back and block, chip the guy, and then go out into his route. But sometimes, like I said, the difference between great and good is just taking what the defense give you. This was a beautiful play right here from Cam Ward with the little sidearm action, man. That's something that we're seeing a lot more of now with the quarterbacks that's coming up. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is one of the ones we've seen who can consistently do it on the week-to-week basis. So I think that a lot of quarterbacks now are looking at that and saying, okay, man, I might need to try to incorporate that into put that in my tool belt, for the simple fact is that if he was to try to throw that ball straight up, the DBs obviously are very athletic, so he could possibly jump up and possibly tip it. But throwing it from a sidearm angle, it's kind of really hard to defend that. But then also you look at the yards after the catch. So a lot of times the biggest deciding factor in yards after the catch is ball placement. He does a really good job at putting the ball right there in the numbers. The receiver was able to catch it, secure the catch, and get his eyes upfield immediately and get some yards after that catch. So as a quarterback, I think to be successful, sometimes you have to be able to play on script and you have to be able to play off script. So you might say, okay, what's on script and off script? So on script is when everything goes the right way, when your offensive line holds up and gives you time, and when your receivers are able to separate from man coverage, or if they're able to sit down in those holes in zone coverage and you're able to get the ball to them. So that's on script. Now, off script is when you up front, we can't hold up, like similar to this play right here where the defensive line just barrels down on us. Now I got to roll out the pocket and try to make something happen. Now, granted, in the NFL, more times than not, this play probably isn't going to end well. You know, one of the biggest knocks that everybody was saying about Caleb Williams last year from this past season was that, okay, he's still trying to do the things that he was doing in college in NFL, and that just doesn't really translate over because those guys are a lot smarter and those guys are a lot more athletic. So the things that you can get away with in college, you wouldn't be able to necessarily get away with in NFL. Now, granted, he could have probably scrambled and, you know, got some yards. It probably wouldn't have been a touchdown, and it might not even would have been a first down because of the defender would have eventually dropped down. But I always tell people a play that's very hard to defend. So they always ask, like, what's the hardest route to, you know, defend? And I always say the hardest route to defend is when that quarterback can roll and get out the pocket and extend plays. Now the receiver can just make up whatever it is that he wants to do, because obviously once the quarterback rolls out the pocket, a lot of eyes focus on him, which leads to a lot of blown coverages, a lot of blown assignments that creates those explosive plays downfield. It's almost kind of similar to on a kick return or a punt return. Whenever a ball is muffed, it's like the defense just freezes, and a lot of times those plays end with a punt return or a kick return being took to the house for a touchdown. But overall, man, I would say that, man, I'm pretty impressed with the film that I've seen from Cam Ward. Other than that one mistake that he made early on, I think he did a very good job at rebounding on that. I seen that Florida was able to get pressure on them up front. Now, consistently might have been the biggest thing, but I seen that a lot of the plays I was watching that they were able to get pressure up front, and he was able to stay cool, calm, and relax. You know what I mean? I even seen in the comments somebody was like, this is the most relaxed I've ever seen a quarterback. And yeah, he was. He never really got rattled. You know, he was able to, you know, keep his composure and make plays whenever they was needed to make plays. So, you know, I was pretty impressed overall with what I seen. But, man, that is it for this video, man. Let me know what you guys think about it. Let me know what you guys think about Cam. Do you guys think that he will have an immediate impact wherever he goes, or do you think it might take a little time before he kind of get rocking and rolling, which would be understandable? But like I said, man, if you did enjoy this video, do me a big favor, smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, it's your first time running across me, or you've been watching my videos and you haven't already, man, make sure you subscribe. And when you subscribe, make sure that notification bell is on. That way you will be notified every time I drop. I'll see y'all in the next video.